Hello. Hello. Welcome to our last Instagram live on our special fashion day for Circular Economy Club London. I'm Natalie Ibbott. I'm one of the volunteers at CEC London. And we've had a really great day today discussing all types of fashion, from renting, different types of textiles. And we're going to finish off speaking to one of our own Circular Economy Club London volunteers, who is Katarina Rimarcikova. So a little bit about Circular Economy Club. Circular Economy Club London is the fashion. Sorry, I was just reading something on the screen there. Circular Economy Club London is one of the London chapters of Circular Economy Club, which is an international organisation, which is a network for Circular Economy Club professionals. We're in over 110 countries. We've got over 260 Circular Economy Club chapters, and London is one of the biggest of those. So we're not for profit, we're open to anyone can join, and it's free to join, and you get to network with everybody who is interested in circular economy, working in circular economy field, and it's a great thing to do. So I am going to bring in Katarina, who is our circular fashion leader of London. Katarina is a fashion designer. She's a lecturer in sustainable fashion, responsible design, alternative business models, and she's also co-founder and director of the creative educational consulting agency Align. So hello, Katarina. You've been with us all day, and welcome.
Hello, me again. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Did you enjoy our previous chats on
Yeah,
fashion and circularity?
yeah. I think it's been a really good day. Genia is always great. She's done quite a few events for us, and it's always interesting to hear from her. And I think Amanda was that's just so the kind of science behind textiles I just find really, really interesting. So that was a great one. And I'm about to go into my wardrobe and dig out anything that I can rent out.
Yay! We have converted, yeah. But that's the thing, I think people don't think about it, that, oh, this could be actually good for me as well.
Yeah,
There is a capital I have in my wardrobe that I can, use. So yeah, anything that we can do, even if it's a little shift or change of mind or just a thought, I think it's important and interesting that for people to just reflect on and connect the dots, maybe, hopefully.
yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting what you were saying about how wedding rental it's been a really common thing, but not for wedding dresses.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig out my wedding dress.
Well, it's all about the business machinery and what we were taught to believe, so it's a complex issue. But yeah, let's try to answer some of these complex questions that we are facing.
Yeah, we want to talk about ethical consumerism, and this kind of came about from a discussion that we were just having a while ago, because I've been trying for the last few years to really think about my wardrobe and whether I want to be buying new and who I want to be buying from if I am buying new. And so I was asking you a load of questions, and that kind of prompted us to do this, because I thought, actually, this is the kind of thing that a lot of people are talking about. So we'll kick off with some questions, shall we? So
let's do it.
Firstly, what does it mean to be an ethical consumer of fashion?
Okay, so just like anything these days, the terms are a bit blurry and could mean different things. And be honest with you, if we are really specific or technical, the ethical consumers who call themselves ethical consumers for fashion, 100% it's not really true, because if we were nitpicking everything, none of those brands or most of the brands rather, are not 100% sustainable or ethical, because it's just simply not possible in so many different ways. But if we just think about it logically, I suppose that it's connected to a moral code and sort of like morality and responsibility of the product that we want to buy and the company that we're buying it from. And it shouldn't just address the material, but we should be questioning everything. So where is it? What is it made out of? Where it was made? Where the conditions fair to the workers who were participating in this product? So I can feel ethically or morally okay to buy into that company and product. So I suppose that's the short answer. So so ethical consumers should be questioning all these aspects of a product, and in this case we're talking about fashion, so garments, accessories, that kind of stuff. And it's difficult and it's easier as well, because on one hand, fashion is becoming more transparent. We have social media, we have information that we can Google a bit more. At the same time, not everything is true. We also live in this post-truth world. But let's just stick to this first. So I mean, be honest with you, that we should all be thinking about this, you know, and questioning where things come from and why do we buy from this company or not this one? Because essentially we have the power of our wallets. You know, we can make a change and make an impact with our choices. And our wallet is the ultimate weapon in, you know, in this very busy space. So, you know, it's not that we should do all the work, but we should just stop and question at least the key element and kind of be wary and be okay what we're buying into.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, what can we do practically to be more sustainable and more ethical in our consumption of fashion? Can you just give us some kind of ideas?
Okay, so first of all, I think we said it already today that the usual question is like, what is the most sustainable garment? Well, the one that exists in your wardrobe. So basically, using and wearing our clothes, and that sometimes means going through a wardrobe, reshuffling things, seeing different combination. You know, just prolonging a piece of clothing for 9 months can reduce carbon footprint, water, and anything else to do with supply chain input energy up to 30%. So that makes a significant difference. So that's number one. Then we're thinking about the really simple principles of circular economy. So prolonging it in terms of maintenance, repairing, reusing it, redistributing it. So either sharing your garments or passing it on, or exchanging it. I mean, this is something that maybe wasn't cool in the past, but it's definitely something that we do, and I do with my fashion friends and people that have amazing wardrobes, and it's an exciting way to update your wardrobe.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, that's the thing, that's what we're fighting here with, that what Victoria was saying earlier, that we still want something new, and we want to get excited, and you know, we have this impulse to buy, so we can find a smarter way how to do this to satisfy these cravings. So swapping, changing, adding, and then refurbishing as one of those points. That means, you know, switching it up, shortening it, go to the tailor, having it altered, or your creative friends can do something with it, you know, chopping sleeves or adding something on. You know, it doesn't have to be amateur made, but you know, it can be something really sophisticated, especially if we're buying well in the first place. And then, of course, thinking about disposal and how to recycle or get rid of the garments. So we try to avoid the fact that it could end up in a landfill if we don't put it into the right bin. And then, I mean, how to be a better consumer. You know, I mean, in the first place, we should all care. I mean, by now there should be enough incredible films, and thanks to David Attenborough, enough awareness, hopefully, how it is all connected to planet, We spoke with Amanda earlier about the impact that fabrics have on this planet, and that's just fabrics, but there's all this technology and energy and carbon footprint that is created by all these garments that are made by this terribly bad model that we have. So, you know, all of us have to care and make a difference, because we're essentially killing our own planet. And also we are affecting millions and millions of people who are working for the fashion industry, especially in the manufacturing.
Yeah.
So once again, it's for me, or generally speaking, I think it's just about having an awareness, do some research. There's more and more brands who are doing better, and there's more and more information. I do agree, though, still it can be confusing. So I think it's down to really understanding what we need, and why do we buy certain items. You know, we all need clothes, of course, but first of all, look in your own wardrobe. Do I really need all of this? Okay, then I can sell it, or I can put it in a charity shop. What do I actually have to buy to make this wardrobe work? It doesn't mean that you have to buy a whole new wardrobe. So maybe it's this cashmere sweater that would be an investment, you know, that can carry me on for like years and years and years, because it's about quality and, you know, natural materials. And again, so paying a decent amount of money for a quality product that stays with you for some time, to me, that's the ethical approach or sustainable approach, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, a lot of people just want the quick fix, or they think it's too expensive. And that's another debate, you know, that what is cheap, what is expensive. We got accustomed to devalue product and expect things to cost so low, because fast fashion made us think that, you know, but that's not true. Simply, you know, the price is being paid somewhere else, if it's the nature or chemicals or the people who don't get paid enough. So yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if I'm gonna start looking at different brands, and it's something that I've been doing recently, and I was having a conversation with some friends saying, well, you know, you can try this brand and this brand, and one of them said, yeah, but how do I know that they're really sustainable? You know, anybody can build a website. How do we know whether this brand is actually practicing what they preach? You know, and they may say all these things, and there are some big brands that we've seen who have a section of what they do that is sustainable, but then that doesn't necessarily mean that everything that they do is sustainable. So how do we know? What can we look for? What can we check?
Okay, really, really good question. And it is really difficult. You're absolutely right. Anybody can say anything. There's hardly anyone who can stop them or check. Also, there are a lot of platforms these days who are sort of checking or suggesting sustainable brands. It's better than nothing, of course, but also I have a bit of an issue with that, because it's not always thoroughly researched, and therefore it can cause more harmful information than doing more good, I would say. As somebody who is really researching this and looking into it, and just seeing the kind of facts or statements are not simply true. But okay, so there is a logic in this. So as you said, rightly so, there are many big brands who are launching this, you know, collections on sustainable and first circular little collection. And that might look good, but it's just such a small percentage that doesn't do anything. And first of all, those brands are still built on these models of linear disposable fashion, who are paying very little money to the workers, and they get paid very much, you know, in terms of the owners or the CEOs or whatever. So to me, that's a brand that you don't want to go in, you know, because why should you support that kind of system if you want to be a more responsible or ethical consumer? You're just adding money to their pockets. Just how to navigate, I would say brands who have as much information as possible on their whole supply chain, so they are able to explain every single thing, what they do and how they do it. Most of them, I would say, those ones who are doing it right, they're honest as well. That they say, we haven't done this yet, but we're working towards this. I've seen numerous brands who would say, look, we are not 100% sustainable. We are working so hard to do our best. And I think that's the best policy, because claiming something that they are when we know that it's sometimes not possible, can go against you. And usually, again, kind of logically, like smaller brand, independent, regional, local, producing more locally or in the same country, already by default, it's more sustainable than any big global supply chain coming from Asia or somewhere.
Yeah.
And there is a consistency, you know, if you look at the brand and see how they do things. And again, another important thing before anything, I would say, every time I scroll at something online, I look at, it can be described beautifully. It can say organic cotton as a name. Look at the materials.
Yeah.
And if in the materials, it just says a nice, you know, mixed fiber, that's just not good enough. You know, that has to be certified. If there is no certification for organic, it's not organic. That's just how it is, you know. So it starts with certified materials, number one, and then they should be able to explain where they do things, where they produce, and even the packaging and all the other parts around the product should be addressed. To me, that's a business that is taken seriously, and they want to provide all of those elements for the product and for the customer.
Okay, great. So, I mean, would you say that, I mean, the perception is that the more you spend on clothes, the more sustainable and ethical a product you get, and the more investment they're putting into that kind of thing. But is that necessarily true? You know, are more expensive clothes better, or is there something wrong in that statement somewhere?
Yes, that's a really big question. So I'll try to keep it short, unpack it a little bit. Um, oh, okay, where do we start? So, I mean, luxury was created to really provide product that is long term, that it's beautifully designed, that uses the best possible materials. That's what luxury was considered. And by default, therefore, it should be sustainable, because it's produced. You know, time doesn't matter. You know, it's made with craftsmanship, the best long-term materials, etc., etc. But this has changed over the years. Luxury has become this massive area of fashion industry, where it expanded, and most of the luxury brands that we know actually produce mass production. You know, there's very little of those brands like the Hermes handbags that are handmade. You know, there are only 2 stitches by machine. And that's, you know, it's a very limited amount of product that is literally made like that. So we are really brainwashed, and we are really, we've been conned really by a lot of this advertising and belief of this hype of brands, and that they are, you know, they're special, and the amount of money they cost. You know, if you look at a lot of the, I'm going to name names, but, you know, everything from Gucci and Louis Vuitton, and most of the bags are made by mass production. You know, there's a limited amount, but most of them are. It's just it's a fact. And realistically, the wholesale price, it's so small, and the margins that they're adding to it, it's ridiculous, and we aren't paying for it once again. You know, so we believe that for some reason that it's better. Of course, there in general there should be, and most of the time there is a difference. Although I always do this exercise with my students when I teach on fabrics, for example, and sustainability. I was like, okay, look at your clothes. What are you wearing? Tell me your composition. And a lot of them wearing designer clothes, and they are shocked when they have their Gucci tracksuit made out of polyester, you know. And I was like, well, you know, and they're like, oh, why am I buying into this, you know? So of course, it's not black and white, and there is this notion, yes. So the bottom line is that luxury business should be by default sustainable. Not all of them are. They are doing better progress. A lot of the luxury companies are owned by 2 major groups, which is LVMH or Kering. Okay. And they have been doing a lot of progress, and they care enough because they actually realize that if they don't put things in place, they're not going to make these products, and they're going to be rich. So they actually do care. in terms of embedding sustainability and more ethical ways of making stuff. However, it doesn't always mean that it's better quality or the best materials. Many of the factories that are making the same fabrics, you are able to buy two as a smaller company, and so it's not like they have a monopoly on that. The same with the factories. The one factory that is making it for Chanel, it's also making for other brands. So it becomes this really interesting sort of subject when we depict it. But I would say, again, just taking off the rose tinted glasses and just not to buy it for the hype. Sure, there are some beautiful products by luxury brands, and some of these that are famous for their coats or leather goods or leather garments that it's a durable product and it will stay in your wardrobe for a long time, and you can pass it on to your daughter or whatever, or sell it off on Vestiaire Collective. So that to me, that's a great investment,
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that is the best choice. I think we need to be aware that that possibly there is a mid-market that could be really interesting, or again, going to more independent brands, smaller brands, who ironically they are limited by the industry to have access to all these amazing materials, but they still find a way how to use the best possible materials with the lowest environmental impact or the certifications, because they really care. So it is a bit of a minefield sometimes to know, but again, I think if you just step away and think about it, well, do I really want this? Is it about the leather, or is it about this material, or what kind of item it is? And I appreciate not everybody has the budget to buy into incredibly expensive things, and we shouldn't always, but at the same time it shouldn't be fast fashion just to justify that we can't afford it. So we're sitting somewhere in the middle possibly, or even if you have to deal with sort of Zara prices, then there's always a better choice. Even Zara, again, I'm naming names because we have to at some point, to just set an example or say as an example, they are at least doing the Join Life collection that it's using trademarked viscose. So again, if it has to be from that brand, make sure you choose that. But ultimately, investment into quality pieces, especially those ones that are not trendy, so again, some jumpers or some key, I don't know, jeans or handbag, that it's about quality material, but answering the three questions: what material, where it was made, and by who, in terms of that. Do we know who made it? Was it done ethically? Whether people paid. I mean, is the brand saying that? If they don't say, that means they probably don't know, or they don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just do a shout out to two companies that I know that are really great. They're both in Brighton. One of them's called Sola and More. They're literally a two-man band in Brighton, who produce sustainable clothing, and the Emperor's Old Clothes, who use loads of dead stock fabric to produce, and they do it for a living wage. So I just, I think it's important.
Amazing.
If these people are getting
No, and yeah, they deserve that. Absolutely. And this is the thing, like, I think it's the word of mouth, and that's why something like Instagram is good, that we can share and organically promote the brands or items we come across, because as I said, like, not every platform provides the best information, and they research doesn't mean that a lot of these things, unfortunately, just become so difficult because the brands pay for it, and then therefore they get a good rating. So it becomes, this ugly thing that it's not always a true reflection. But I just think we need to be mindful and, take a responsibility for what we buy. And, how we care what we put in our body in terms of food, we should also care about clothes, and I think that was one of the questions that we were, asked. We were sort of like putting out there, why should people care? I mean, first of all, Skin is the largest organ in our body, and so we should care what kind of materials are we putting on. That one of the biggest issues is that the chemicals that go into most of the textiles, if not all of them, are quite harmful to us and the environment. And we might not immediately die, but
Yeah.
there's a consequence. So why wouldn't we care? Just for us, for
Yeah.
goodness sake, for our children. And then, I mean, again, hopefully, thanks to internet and amazing shows like David Attenborough, etc., and more of these kind of campaigns, that we start to see how it is all connected, and how participating in this makes it worse or better. And again, it's a kind of individual and collective thing. So it does matter if you buy something or you don't, because ultimately, if there's no demand for something, they can't make it anymore. And companies have to change. So I think, yeah, we should all kind of think about the next time we buy something, and
Yeah.
it should be still enjoyable. And that's what, when I discover an amazing ethical, like you did just now, and you point out, it brings a smile to your face because you discover something. They're able to tell you stories. They know everything about the product from A to Z.
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference, and you feel connected to the product, and
Yeah.
you wear it with pleasure and joy, because
Yeah.
you've done your best, right?
Yeah, and I think also I bought some shorts from Zola Amore over the summer, and I just when I was wearing them, I just felt much more comfortable about wearing them, and not wearing where they'd come from, and that they were the GTOS certified cotton, organic cotton, and it just kind of, I think it just makes you feel better when you're wearing something that, and certainly the opposite, that if I wear anything now that's in my wardrobe that I had for years and years, that is maybe a more of a fast fashion brand, I actually feel a bit uncomfortable wearing it now. And I think that
Yeah,
finding out more about this kind of thing, I think is just really important. It just helps you to make better choices, really, doesn't it?
absolutely. I mean, you said it, and look what a difference it made
Yeah.
already, just to you and one product. And what's dangerous is when people say, "Oh, I don't care about fashion. I don't know anything about fashion." Well, sadly, we are all part of it, because we all wear clothes, and if you don't care and you just buy anything, that's even worse. So I think it's that, again, the mindset. I'm seeing a really interesting question here. Do you think that fast
Yeah.
fashion should regulate it so that the true cost social moment is encompassed within the price and discouraged? Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is well overdue. It's ridiculous that we still haven't done it. I mean, it blows my mind that we just ruining this planet, and so happily all these massive retailers around the world are making millions. Like, how is this okay? And I know too much about it behind the scenes, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just so upsetting, because obviously it's connected to politics and favorism and corruption, and this kind of, it's very, very complex beast. And there were legislations, proposed legislations for last year for UK, and they were rejected because of the difficult situation with Brexit, and we didn't want to upset people. So there's always an excuse, and just not good enough. But I absolutely agree, because I think they are getting away with murder, really. That we haven't encountered for the damage to environment using cheap cotton and cheap viscose. And of course, all those people, involved in a mass production in third world countries, and even not in a third world countries. It's happening in UK. I mean, there's so much scandal, especially recently, connected to COVID spread, specifically in Leicester and neighboring areas, that we shake our heads for a second, hearing about these terrible practices, but we are still, I mean, a lot of people are still happy to buy it, and I almost feel like that should be, on the label, you should get this information that this may be made by a child, who was really sick, or, I mean, I'm not laughing, but it's just like something that's shocking, that maybe will stop people to really kind of, think about it. That, do I want to be associated? Because just because it's cheap, I'm going to just pretend that it doesn't exist because it doesn't happen in front of me, or it doesn't, affect me, my life, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the biggest problem I see, that's the non-transparency still. I mean, there's some, and of course the problem is that a lot of brands are focusing on this greenwashing or green marketing, which
Yeah.
is focusing on, let's say, one element, which is materials.
Yeah.
It's a good start, but it's not everything. You can swap few materials for nice or more or certified, but if you don't change your whole supply chain and you don't pay people properly who are making it, that's not sustainable. Bottom line. I mean, and to be honest with you, we shouldn't even talk about sustainable businesses, fashion businesses. That's not good enough for this world. So we can't sustain what we currently have. We need to actually change it into, responsible businesses, accountable businesses, more circular businesses. So yeah, a lot of work to do. There are some great shifts, of course, but it still take time. I'm going to plug my friend's company,
Yeah.
just as a great example. I just love what they do. It's called Pangaya, and she's the chief innovation officer there. And the whole idea was or started around material science, so coming up with new materials that are environmentally friendly, and creating like essentials, so t-shirts, hoodies, shorts, that kind of stuff, made from seaweed, recycled cotton, mint for the odor, so there's no synthetics and no recycled plastics, thank God. But really exciting new materials that are good for, even the dyes are made from cherry blossom or natural pigments. So I would say they're one of the companies that are doing it really properly right, the whole
Yeah.
process. But of course they don't do everything, but it's just a good model that finally it's coming through in terms of really caring how things are made and why, and limited production as well. Not everything should be available because that's not sustainable. So there's a lot happened this year. The whole fashion industry has been sort of like shaken up, upside down, and we are rewiring and rethinking. But ultimately, we have to change the model where then companies are really creating product with purpose and for circularity. So we, as consumers, we don't have to feel guilty, buying into something or do all the work. But at this point, we should care enough to make a little research.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it's like, it's not about just being even into fashion, but just reading the information, basic information. If it's like, you're not going to put something in your body if you don't read the label, or that kind of thing. If it was pure poison, you're not going to put it on your hair. So just click on the materials first of all, and then if it's acrylic, go away, and then find that jumper that it's 100% wool, at least. So
Yeah.
there is a bit of a hierarchy. I mean, it's, again, as you probably heard today, and if you haven't, please listen to Amanda's chat
Yeah. Yeah.
or input on materials, because it is complex. We get that, but there's always a choice, so even for consumers, so try to avoid virgin synthetics, then look at certified natural fibers and certified regenerated fibers. Avoid blends if possible, and a lot of fast fashion brands are using blends because it's a cheaper material and more practical. And just think about what we really need, and then rent a lot of new fun stuff, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing, that if you're renting something that exists, you don't necessarily have to worry that much about what is it made out of, like, perfectly, but it's using it once or twice, and then you don't have to be responsible for it, but you can have fun with like new pieces.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's cool. So, I mean, that's kind of quite nicely summarized, I think, everything. And we're going to do a summary, aren't we, of today,
Yeah.
and link on our Instagram, just to kind of just to show everything that we've talked about today, and then sort of our rules of how to do fashion better. We want to just make that kind of clear to everybody. So that's something we're going to get up. So, I mean, in summary of today, what has been your favorite part of today? Because we've had a really good day of interviews.
Yeah, no, it's always a joy. I mean, honestly, it's always so good to, I know all of my guests, and it's just so lovely to always speak to them, because you just hear like the amazing knowledge and insights and their stories, and it's just so exciting for me, to hear it. Even I heard it before, but it's joyous to see how they're doing it well, and how they kind of got into it and how they believe in it. So it's always so inspiring, I think. And actually, it was great to meet Victoria today. I know other platforms, but it's always good to learn about others. And to me, it's so inspiring, to see that how you can partner up with Selfridges, and it's like, why not? Because it makes complete sense. So the power of community, and knowledge and community, I would say, that kind of makes a huge difference. So it's lovely to see like people joining us and asking questions, and even if we can change like one person's mind, or make somebody think about this going forward, I think we've done something good, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for all your efforts today. You've done a great job interviewing everybody all day. And as I say, we're going to try and summarize as much as we can on our various social media feeds. And you can rewatch all of the interviews, all the lives that we've done today. So with Genia from Bean London, and Amanda Johnston from Sustainable Angle, and Victoria Prue from Her. We're going to have all of those, and this one, I suppose, as well. All of those are going to be available to rewatch. So I guess we just need to say thank you, and we've got some Circular Cities Week is coming up on the 30th of October, and I think that's going to be a bit more of an interactive, maybe a Zoom session. So if you just keep your eye on all of our social media, you can find out about that.
I'm just reading the last comment. How nice to hear that. Thank you, whoever you are.
That's actually that's actually one of my friends who I was talking about.
Oh, brilliant. So thank you for tuning in, and yeah, brilliant. So achievement done. So no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for talking with me as well, and let's just put it into practice, really, and think about what we can do going forward.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.